Thank you very much. And I will enjoy to help you with this monastery to do it as a passive house. I think it's possible. Well, my name is Hans Eger, and I will take this one. Go a little closer, perhaps it will get in a roundabout. I'm an architect. I've been working with low energy houses since the middle of the 70s, and I've sort of developed passive houses together with some other friends in Germany and Austria. I have a friend, he's a geologist, and he compares the world with an apple, where the skin of the apple is the little sphere, the thin skin where all life is, all materials are that we use in society and have our welfare from. And when we have used the materials, we put them back again to the earth, to the water, and to the air. And the most exciting challenge we have just this century is to reduce the carbon dioxide, which is the fossil fuels that we use, and put them to the air. And in that perspective, we should know that buildings use about 40% of the energy in the world. In Sweden, it's a little less, I think it's 35 or 37%. But 50% of the carbon dioxide emission comes from the building. And we make houses today which should last for 50 years or something more. In 50 years we have the year 2060. So out of my perspective, it's very, very important that we make the houses very energy. I think you can recognize this diagram. It's from the United Union's Committee of Climate Control. They made some forecasts for the future of the change in climate. The green line here is the forecast of if we reduce the carbon dioxide emissions very much to 3.3 tons per capita, we will have increased temperature of the world of 2 degrees, and that is what we are talking about the Kyoto Protocols. We have, if we go on with the carbon dioxide emissions, we will have increased temperature of 4 to 6 degrees as we the carbon dioxide as we emit them today. So it's very important to make something with buildings. The European Union has made a directive to change the building codes, and we will listen to John McKelvin afterwards, who will tell something more about the new directive. But that means that we should go down to the passive house standard, and we should have some renewable energy support for the heat and energy which is used in the buildings. The passive house is defined by power for heating with 10 watts per square meter. And that is heating or cooling power. And that means that you can use the fresh air which is blown into the house with, as a radiator instead of a radiator. the energy demand for heating is about 15 kilowatt hours per square meter, and here in south of Sweden. It means also that 6 candles are enough for a room. So the power of heating is very, very low, and you get a very good indoor climate with the passive house. If it's minus 20 degrees outside, it is sufficient with 6 candles to heat a living room. The first passive houses built in Sweden were in Gothenburg, south of Gothenburg, built in 2001. There are 20 attached row houses, and the principles were to have small heat losses from the house. We have 3 kinds of heat losses from the house. It's the sewage water you use, warm water you use in a house, and you let it out with the sewage water system. It's the transmission losses, that is the heat going through the envelope of the house, through the windows, through the roof and floor. And the third is the ventilation losses. That's the fresh air we breathe. We heat it up. The fresh air is coming from the outside. It's cold in winter in Sweden. And we heat it up to room temperature and let it out again. The fresh air, the ventilation losses, the only way to minimize the losses is to use a heat exchanger and a ventilation system. The transmission losses are very easy to do something about. It's thick insulation and good windows, and not too big windows. The project in Gothenburg had rather big windows to the south, and the roof edges will shade the windows in the summer, and they did in the sun in winter. And the north side of the houses have smaller windows, and we have porches with double entrance doors. Important is the thick insulation. We have about half a meter in the roof, and over 40 centimeters of insulation in the walls, and 30 centimeters in the floor. And the most important thing in this picture is the red line here. That is the air tightness. It's a polyethylene sheet which is glued to the windows because it's very important to get the house airtight. The heat exchanger used here is made of 54 square meters of aluminium sheets, which are parallel, where the fresh air is going in one direction and the used air in the other direction. And between 85 and 90% of the heat is exchanged, is going over to the fresh air. We have 2 fans and a filter which filters the fresh air, so inside the house the air is more healthy than on the outside. And the heat exchanger has also a built-in heater, a small heater which can be served by hot water coming from biomass or electricity or what you want. You can make a house without any floor heating or radiators and have a good comfort. This project, built in 2001 in Gothenburg, the Swedish Testing Institute has made some evaluations of it, and you can see the energy used in the houses. That's all energy, the domestic hot water, the heating, and the household electricity. And the difference is between 5,300 kilowatt hours a year up to 12,000 kilowatt hours. And that is depending on how the families who are living in their homes, their habits. You make a comparison between an average passive house in this settlement. It uses 8,300 kilowatt hours a year, and if you compare it to a common house built with the Swedish building code, it's a difference of about 10,000 kilowatt hours. So it's saving a lot of energy. The indoor temperature is in such a house, the dimensioning outdoor temperature in Gothenburg is minus 16 degrees. And the New Year's night between 2001 and 2002, we had a code record in Gothenburg. It was minus 21 degrees. And I was a little worried about it. And I phoned the Swedish Testing Institute, and they phoned me back again, asked me if I sat down in a chair. Really got nervous. And he said, the measurements are a catastrophe. There are too many people at home, and they use too many candle lights, and they have between 25 and 30 degrees inside. Well, there are normal people, average people living here in Lindås. This is Anna-Karina Karlsson with her sons Emil and Alexander. All here help each other to heat their house. The cat Garfield also performs an extra heat source. It's very important that you have a good cooperation between the craftsmen that build the house. A carpenter can make a very airtight construction, and then the electricians come with these bolts and knives and makes all the holes and destroys the airtightness. And therefore it's very good that everybody, very important that everybody is working to the same goal to make an energy efficient and airtight house. So you have to have a good cooperation between craftsmen, and also good cooperation between the architects and consultants, that the architect works together with the mechanical engineer. We have multi-family houses built as passive houses. This is a project in Innsbruck, in Austria, also Innsbruck. This is a house built in Gothenburg, where it's a city-owned building company who built 115 apartments. And what's interesting with this project is that they made a life cycle cost analysis. And the building costs are about 2.5% more than for a similar house built with the Swedish building code. But the interest of this 2.5% more investment is much lower than the saved energy costs. So it's profitable to manage this building from the very first day. This house is built here in Lidköping. It's the first prefabricated passive house one family house in Sweden. This is a house I designed for my sister. And it's possible to build passive houses in not only residential houses. This is the first nursery school with passive house technology in Alingsås. And the difference between an apartment and a school is that the ventilation is much bigger, much larger in a nursery school. About 5 times as much ventilation. But you can shut off the ventilation when the children are there in the nights and the weekends. It's possible to build offices as well. This is an office in Germany, where you take the fresh air through these earth pipes, where in winter the earth is cooled down here, and the coldness in the earth is slowly moved to the house. And after half a year, it's reaching the house, so you don't need any air conditioning. And opposite, in the summer, the earth is heated, and the heat is going through slowly to the house. And use the summer heat in the winter to heat the house. But we know that in 2050, the existing buildings that we have today, there will be 90% of the home building stock. So it's important to refurbish the buildings. And this is a project also in Alingsås, where we will refurbish 300 apartments, and that is, they are owned by the community-owned housing company Alingsåshem, and they make it to a passive house standard. These houses belong to the so-called Million Program. Between 1965 and 1975, there were 1 million new apartments built in Sweden, and 400,000 of the apartments were built with the same design as this one. They have balconies with concrete, and the floor of the balcony is a part of the floor of the living room, so we have cold bridges there. The facades are destroyed by the acid rain, and they have to be refurbished. So we take away the balconies and also the facades and change the whole construction of exterior walls. We also put some insulation on the floor. There is no insulation on the floor today in the existing houses. Put extra insulation in the roof, and put some heat recovery in the ventilation systems. There are different ways of doing it. Here in this illustration we have one heat recovery for each apartment. Later on we changed the system, so we have one heat exchanger for about 15 or 20 apartments. But what is interesting is that the space heating before the refurbishment was 150 kilowatt-hours per square meter, and afterwards 90. So we have really saved some energy. The total costs for the renovation is about 1 million Swedish crowns per apartment. And that includes new elevators, new environment, outdoor refurbishment, and the extra costs for energy saving compared to the normal standard is about 100,000 crowns. But the payback time for the energy saving is less than 10 years. And
sorry, can I interrupt you?
yes.
One question there. Is it with the current energy prices, or do you account for increased energy prices as well?
These costs are with current energy prices.
Right.
I told Mr. Reinfeldt about the costs here, and I told him that we have 800,000 apartments in Sweden that should be refurbished. The costs of refurbishing them is 800 billion crowns, and if you make 1/10 a year, it costs 80 billion crowns. That's about the same money that we use for 2 defense budgets for Sweden. But on the other side, you have to employ about 80,000 new building workers. So I think it's quite a good idea to do it in comparison to biological energy, isn't it? He was a little skeptic, the Prime Minister, but the King, he was very glad, because the windows you get when you have so thick walls, they are very close to the windows of the castles of arcade. There's no reason to do anything else as Hasselhauses, I think. If you want to have a look at our homepage, it's Hasselhauscentrum.se. There's some information. It's renewed each